Ooh, Lord Almighty, wearing tidy whities. It's time for an album review. You okay, buddy? I was just trying out something new, and I guess it failed. Hello one, hello all. It's Gothius, the ghost of them all, Casper in the flesh, and it's time for a review of Blue and Exile, Love, the Ominous World. This is the latest collab from underground legends Blue and Exile, two of the most legendary forces in underground rap, with rapper Blue, producer Exile. And honestly, it feels like forever ago since they've dropped their last collab album, which was Miles. But in actuality, it's been only 4 years. And I thought, and still do, it's an ambitious, beautiful, enchanting, powerful, moving album, which honestly I feel even Blue himself cannot surpass, nor any other rapper in his lane, although there have been rappers that have come close to touching this jazz rap gem, like maybe McKinley Dixon with Beloved Paradise Jazz. But that's not to say that Blue's trajectory after that was subpar. It's not the case at all. But I honestly feel people should take notice of this fantastic record. And I feel it should fit very high in terms of rap albums of this decade. Now, everything else from Blue has either been great or really good. His last LP that he put out with Evidence, I thought was decent. I didn't think was amazing, but I thought was definitely a good record, which was a collaborative concept album that revolved around LA crime, LA poverty, mentality, and the perseverance to get through it. And now we have this comeback album of the Defiant Duo. They are back again with a pretty decent sized album. At 12 tracks, 50 minutes, 10 minutes shy of an hour, and no tracks pushing past the 6-minute mark. It is pretty feature heavy though. There's actually only 3 solo tracks here, such as Suge Knight, Undisputed, a song called Percipitation, and I wouldn't say this album follows much of a theme, but there are thematically focused tracks on this album, and I will say some tracks do complement each other in a sequential manner, because Blue does approach these tracks with a lot of focus, a lot of precision. So it's safe to say Blue and Exile came back and definitely delivered here. And after you listen to this, you will definitely see why. We're still getting the beauty, the enchanting soul samples, but also some very West Coast style laced production. Not only that, but there are nice segues here that I thought were genius, where he raps with West Coast heavyweights like Corrupt, King Crooked, who are also not only West Coast heavyweights, but death row vets, over this very chunky production that leads into the song Suge Knight, which, if you didn't know, was a very major label record owner, quite possibly one of the most prolific, but also the most polarizing of the West Coast. And I will say that Blue touches on conceptually new territory, like societal ills, criticism of the government, environmental issues, his upbringing, whether that's growing up in LA, his ventures as an artist, and yes, old territory such as religion, family. So yes, Blue delivers topics he's already delivered, sure, but there's no denying he's digging deeper into the subjects, as he always does. He's bringing more experiences, more emotions, and more thoughts to them. He's definitely a master of introspection, very cerebral, and also very heartfelt, like on Homies, Valleys of Kings, Hello LA, just to name a few. Also, I admire the linking and sonic correlation to the beginning and ending of this album. The song Suge Knight, as I mentioned before, is Blue rapping about his personal experience of meeting Suge Knight, almost being signed to the Death Row label, being a Death Row artist, seeing the inner workings of one of Tupac's posthumous records, rapping for him, rapping for Suge, and what the exec promised. But let's just say, without giving a spoiler, the ending is kind of self-explanatory. And honestly, I think Blue and Exile are better for it. But I feel the following track does give you an idea of sonically where Blue would have headed territorially. But I will say, given how grimy the next track is, how West Coast the next track is, it definitely gives you an idea of what Blue would have sounded like if he was actually signed to that label. So again, while this isn't a concept album, I feel like these parts of the records do connect together sonically and topically, even if it's not necessarily telling you a cohesive story. Because with the title track, Blue is rapping about a world in total chaos, and now that the orange fascist is in office now, it's weird because this was recorded before that, but I feel there was some sort of premonition here, and I'm normally not a guy who believes in premonition, but it is very eerie that this type of track of this chaos and magnitude and dystopia is pretty much a subconscious foretelling of what was to happen or what could happen. But these catastrophic conditions have been going on for quite a while, but I could see them worsening with police brutality, lack of progression from the government, the US, corporate greed, and years of oppression and rebellion coming in result of that, of rebellion being the outcome. And Blue is asking in this situation, what would you do? What steps would you take to survive in this? Not only that, but laying out the options. It's honestly the most badass, rebellious, hell-raising song that Blue has ever put out, in my opinion. Soon after that, we get another genius display of sequencing with the next track, a song called Percipitation. But if you paid attention to the last track, it had a hopeful ending, which led into the song at hand that has a more cathartic, refreshing feel to it, with these beautiful chord progressions over this nice fat bass, great melodies, very jazzy, very bluesy, with these blissful vocal samples, as Blue gives a not only conceptual but sonic cool down moment as he raps about the rain, correlates it to healing, peace, recovery, taking care of one's mental health, or even environmental with all these harrowing forest fires going on. And not only that, but all the chaos, all the disparity. Like, Blue is bringing a lot of philosophical gems to the table here, and he's really proving how he is just progressing more and more and more, which is crazy because his latest output, his output before that, has been fantastic. So where Blue could go from here, sky's pretty much the limit for Blue. No pun intended. Is that a pun? Is that a pun? Doesn't matter. In terms of production, Exile really doesn't miss a step here. The production to the opener, Hello LA, which is a bright, beautiful opener, with the incorporation from, I believe, a ukulele, and gorgeous gospel-style layering. The assembling of the melodies and harmonies are great. Lyrically, a great introductory and starting point to the record, and even from a lyrical angle, too. The production on Gold is very heavy, very triumphant, with a great jazzy piano inclusion, with, I believe to be vibraphone samples, and if you know me, you know I love a good vibraphone, with some nice lyrical Gold tie-ins that liken to persevering, prospering. And the track Homies is an absolutely touching and gorgeous track. The production feels so dreamy, so harmonious. The soul samples, the rich pianos, and the heavy drums, the hardcore samples, all culminate into a powerful track. And I feel the surreal dreaminess of the production really does complement the reminiscing within the lyrical content here. It complements the introspection, the reminiscing. It's just so touching and warm, and flashes back to the time of Blue with his upbringing, with his close friends, family, paying homage to the culture, speaking to people close to him who introduced him to the art, speaking to people close to him who introduced him to the art he's doing well now, and speaking on the ones who introduced him to the spirituality that he puts in his music now, that played a prominent role to him in his music and as an individual. And the track Undisputed, which is undoubtedly the most densest track on the album, where Blue likens his prowess, his skills to that of a prize fighter, of a boxer, being on top of his game, absolutely killing it, and rightfully so. He does have a right to say this. I feel with the concepts, the bars, the catalog, it's not hard to see why. Like on Chuck's, where he goes, respect it like Miss Franklin, getting the Benjamin Franklins. There's also a moment where Blue shows his wordplay game, and it is phenomenal. It's at an absolute high on Valley of Kings. It all started at birth. My rival put a scar on the earth. When I was born, I seen the stars burst, and they weren't fireworks. The earth shook worst. Every time I write a verse to remind me of my worth, I was cursed with the gift to be blessed. Even when I had less, I manifest words in the flesh, the best. Though I never got an A on my test, I never failed, even if I failed subjects, my God! While simultaneously reflecting on the tumultuous times he's had, such as being arrested, the tragic turn of events with Warner Bros, and them releasing him, not to mention the genius interpolation he has here, correlating to him doing people wrong, from of course the classic Ghetto Boys song My Mind's Playing Tricks on Me, such as, I can't sleep, I toss and turn, when I think of the people I crossed and burned. I feel like through the years, we're definitely seeing Blue develop as a person, as an artist. We are definitely witnessing the transformation, and I'm digging how confessional and how much of an open book he is, always, on these projects, and definitely more of an open book here, which definitely makes for very powerful moments. I feel like there's moments on the record that do have a lackluster turn to them, parts that turn me off vocally but also lyrically, like on Suga and Buttaz. Unfortunately, I wasn't too blown away by the feature guest here, Ray Khalil I think her name is. That sounds very vocally awkward, and then some bars from Blue that are pretty questionable, like had me coming quick when I see her and her cousins kiss. But outside of a few weak tracks, this is a fantastic album. I feel that Blue and Exile have done it again, and brought another great to their catalog. Though not as enchanting, ambitious, and robust as Miles, I feel with the production, the bars, the lyrics, the concepts, and the flows, Blue and Exile proved to be, again, one of the underground goats of the West Coast. I'm feeling a 4 out of 5 Black Hearts on this album. If you've given this a listen, what did you think? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Why? I am Caspa. I am your plug. Show me love. Hit me with a sub. Leave a comment, even if it's nonsense. Caspa, Blue and Exile. Till we meet again.